So I think my phone might be broken, or like I held up my hands so I could start recording, or it's because I have the map out so it doesn't work that way. So yeah. Let's see. Trying to think of how to deal with my roommate because she doesn't really think about anyone else except for herself. She lies a lot. And she does it, I'm guessing, to make herself feel as though she's welcomed. I don't know. I don't get it. It's confusing me, and I'm just like, why you lie so much? Like, I can't trust you with anything. Like, literally anything. So, yeah, it's quite annoying. And so, yeah. You're right in the middle of the road. Thank you. Let's see, what was I thinking of? Okay, so I did notice in regards to your sibling where the power went out, which sucks a lot. It really, really does. By the way, if I could, I would just give you a long hug because I just really want it and I enjoy long hugs. So, yeah. Let's see, what else is there? But yeah, what was it? Oh yeah, so in regards to your siblings' business. Wow, there's a driveway with a water fountain in front. Looks nice. Where basically it was like, how would I describe it? Oh yeah, so where your sibling has it, where there's like the lights and such inside the room, that lighting is great. Like, it's really, really nice. I wonder also if it's possible to get like some purchase some battery operated lights or something that are like super bright, especially in the dark. Or I wonder if it's possible to do either windows up in the ceiling, so that way whenever the power goes out, you at least still have light in. Or have maybe bigger, like a bigger window. I can create the picture. There's a bigger window with like letting light in, so that way whenever it gets dark, or not dark, whenever it's like, okay, we need more light, you have light. Or if you're like, okay, I'm afraid of being vandalized because, for example, there are those companies out there that, you know, they have those big windows, or like during the Black Lives Matter riots, where basically it was like, the Black Lives Matter riots, where it's basically like, oh, we're gonna go ahead and like break the windows in order to get in. But I know for that, people went ahead and used like wooden boards. Or the other idea is basically have it where the windows are higher up. So like, let's say the wall, like the normal walls are like 4 feet tall, or about 5 feet tall, and then above that you have windows. So that way it's more like for people to experience light while still being like, okay, we're still like enclosed in or safe or whatever. So yeah. Yeah, but with the lights, so one, great that you guys had a decent amount of light so that way you could see everywhere, but also those lights, it reminds me of where sometimes people will go ahead and have the lights out, or like, you know, the lights will be out or something. Where the lights are, so it'll start with one song, in regards to lights, it'll start with one song, and then what will happen is that it'll go from one song, and then the beat will change, and whenever the beat changes, you'll see like normal people sort of chugging, dancing slightly, And then whenever the beat changes, you'll see people use the strobe lights and like really going at it. I guess it's like at a techno festival or whatever. So it reminds me of that, where it's like loads of fun. So yeah. Oh, you mentioned, so you know how my humor at times can be very dry, where I sort of like make a joke, but it's very, very flat. Nowadays I can laugh at the jokes, but yeah. But it reminds me of, what was it? My mind's thinking about my roommate. She's so annoying. I'm like, please stop lying about like everything. Seriously. So, yeah. I give it 10 minutes between the time that I go into the room and the time she lies about something. Just something, anything. So yeah. Because it's like, please stop. Please just no. Like, I'm like, or like, it's annoying me. She's annoying me. She's aggravating me. Actually, it was interesting because, like, I think it was around the time that we became roommates, I was like, at one point the thought came into my head. I was like, she's going to annoy me. I was like, no, it'll be okay. No, never mind. She's annoying. It's aggravating and annoying and just like everything in between. So yeah. Anyways, about the pastor. The pastor has sort of a dry humor like me, because at one point he talked with someone was like, yeah, you should take out the desk from the hotel room, because it's usually facing toward a wall, and then face it toward the window. And so it had to do with the lesson. I'll explain the lesson shortly. But what it was that the guy was like, okay, so he went over to the hotel and he tried to like pull out the desk, but he's like, yeah, the desks are nailed in. And so as he was trying to pull out the desk, he's like, come out in Jesus' name. And it's like, it did not work. So he went ahead and like left it there, because he's like, I really don't want to pay for hotel room damages. I'm like, there you go, sir. There you go. So yeah, he ended up doing that, and it's like, good for you, sir. Good for you, leaving it as is. And I understand it, especially in regards to like wanting to do something. So in regards to the lesson, so the lesson was basically, or the theme, I guess, for today was basically being barren, or like women who are barren. It was not talking about like just women who could not have children. But it was basically where he's like, not just women about like, you know, having kids and such, but it's basically like, okay, there's some people out there who like, God promised this thing 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you're still waiting on it. And sometimes it's not through what you can achieve. Like, you know, we have medicine and such to take care of things. Or like in his case, he's like, yeah, I had some plowed land and then a parking lot. And for years, the church was like just a parking lot. And people are like, oh, what do you do? He's like, I'm a pastor. And they're like, oh, cool. So like, you're a pastor at this church. Isn't that a parking lot? And he's like, yes. And he like bows his head like in shame. Because it's not necessarily something that he's like, I want it to be an actual church building. I don't want it to just be a parking lot. So yeah, so he'll bow his head in shame. And so in his case, he decided to look at women who were barren, who like had no kids, couldn't have kids, or anything like that. You know what? Listening to the sermon, I was okay, and I was like, I'm not gonna cry. And now I'm crying. Okay. So, yeah, he mentioned about that, where it's like, doing like women who are barren. So he looked at Abraham and Sarah, or at that time it was Abram and Sarai. It was spelled Sarai. And then her name changed to Sarah, Sarah. So the only difference is that changed the H for an I, and that used to be her name. And then his name was Abram, and then it was changed to Abraham. So anyways, he went to, what was it? So she was barren all those years, and he's like, yeah, basically these two people, they were old. They were like well beyond childbearing age, where like they're 90 years old, for example. And they're so old, it's like, I can't have kids at all. Like, it's not physically possible to have kids. And like, Abraham was 100 and Sarah was like 90. And then God's like, oh, by the way, you're going to have a kid next year. And she laughed because she's like, I'm old. And like, the angel was like, oh, why did she laugh? Like, why? So, yeah. So, yeah, it's like, why did she laugh? So, yeah. So, yeah, she went ahead and, like, she laughed, and then it came to happen, and he's like, this is beyond what any, like, person could do naturally, and it's something that only God could do, where it's like, for example, he gave another example where when he was a kid, so his dad died when he was like 19, and so he was like, you know what, I want something on my dad's. Well, his mom went ahead and, his dad was a car guy. The pastor is not a car guy, but his dad was a car guy, and his dad decided, I'm going to go ahead and, so his dad died. And around that time that his dad died, or like after his dad died, the son, who was 19 at this time, he's now the pastor, he was like, yeah, like I had these dreams and visions, like God has given me these dreams and visions for my life. So he goes ahead and writes down in a journal, like, this is what I see will be happening when I'm 29 and when I'm 40 years old, and like at these different years or stages of my life. So he was like, I see this happening like in the future, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. So he saw that. And then what was another point that he saw? So he saw that, and then and that was in his dad's, like, he wrote that stuff in his dad's journal, because he's like, these are things that God said that would happen. God never said, hey, it's going to happen the next few months. God was like, this is going to cause you have to practice long suffering. Long suffering is beyond patience, for what it's been described. Long suffering is basically, guess what? This is going to, this is something that you may have to wait for months or for years or for decades to happen. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that it's like, you know what, only God can do, basically. Come on, good. Okay, good. Where it's like only something God will do in your life, and something where it's like, I raised this person from the dead, for example, or like literally like Jesus raised people from the dead, like Lazarus. So he raised people from the dead, or like he went ahead and had a 90-year-old woman, or 91-year-old woman have a baby. Like, where it's like, yeah, that's beyond, like, that's impossible. Like, that would never work, basically. So, yeah, overall, like, I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, overall, that was, like, amazing and sweet. So, yeah. Just in regards to, like, you know, you might be waiting years, but, like, God will make it happen, basically. What else? So in regards to the Corvette, he went ahead and, so his dad died. His mom, because he's 19 years old and he's not a car guy, his mom was like, I want to go ahead and sell it. So she sold it, and he's like, oh man, you know, I really wanted that Corvette. So he kept, like, so he hoped for it, and after years, he sort of just gave up on it. He was angry, and then he became apathetic. Like, you know what, I'm not going to try anymore, forget it, type deal. So he does that, and then I don't know if it happened around that time or another time. What ends up happening, he has this dream where this old man comes up to him and hands him the keys to his old dad's Corvette. To his dad's old Corvette. There we go, that makes more sense. To his dad's old Corvette. And he hands him the keys to the old Corvette. And whenever he does that, he's like, you know what? If you had just waited, like, then this would have been yours. I would have given it to you. Like, basically hold on to faith and, like, pray a little bit longer for this thing, because this is something that was precious to you. And so it's like, oh, like, that was, anyways, so he had this dream about what happened, and then he was like, yeah, what was it? So he had that dream. He ends up coming across this guy. I don't know who he is. He's like, yeah, I'm looking for my dad's car or something. And the guy's like, oh, really? So do you have the VIN number of your dad's car? He's like, no. Do you have, like, this of your dad's car? Like, some other information? He's like, no. He's like, the insurance that you use now, is that the same insurance that you used for the Corvette? He's like, yeah. So he ends up being able to find out who owns that vehicle. He ends up calling the guy, and this happened, like, I don't know how long, but it was like a day, maybe two after. So, wait, sorry, take it back. So he ends up calling the guy. Whenever he called the guy, it was 2 days after he had this dream, just 2 days. And he talked to the guy who had the dream, and turns out it was an old man who actually owned the vehicle. He's like, oh, did you see the ad? He's like, yeah, I'm looking for my dad's old Corvette. I was really hoping for it, da-da-da. And the guy's like, oh, did you, like, see the ad in the paper? He's like, ad in the paper? And so he's like, yeah, basically I had a feeling like this car, I've owned this car for years. And I've been like, okay, you know what? This vehicle is not mine. Like, it does not belong to me at all. So he had the Corvette, like, ad for years, and he only put like 7,000 miles on it. So it might have been like 10 years he only put 7,000 miles on this Corvette. And the guy explained the situation, the pastor explained this situation to this old man. He's like, man, like, if I knew, like, if you had contacted me any earlier, like, I would have given you the car. And he's like, I sold the vehicle 2 days ago. 2 days ago is when he had the dream. And it's like, oh, wow. So basically it's like, very interesting and like heart-wrenching, I guess, because I know I'm not married, but at the same time I still feel barren because I felt discouraged, like I'm never gonna have kids and I'm never gonna have a family. So yeah, I felt discouraged about it for a long time, just with everything. And so I'm like, is this possible? Is this really like truly possible for this to happen? So yeah. It's often hard where it's like, I don't know if it will happen or not. I'm just trying to figure out a way, or like, not figure out a way, but like figuring out if it will happen or not, or like being discouraged because most people are married by their like mid-20s, and a lot of people, they have the career set up and they're like, okay, I'm ready to get married. And in my case, like, I don't know, I guess it's like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and like settle down and get married and like maybe a housewife, or like get a job, because, or like, you know, work here and there, nothing too special, and it's like, you know, I'll work my way up or something. And yeah, it's like, I don't know if that'll be possible, basically. And just me feeling very discouraged, especially at my age. So yeah. I thought it was also interesting. He mentioned that now, what was it? Sarah, she was beautiful but barren. And I was like, hey, I know I'm attractive, but I'm barren. I'm like, I felt that description. I really hope I don't have a baby at 90 though. That sounds like I'll die during childbirth. That sounds like I don't know. So yeah. But yeah. Oh yeah, also I found out for acceleration. So I would check like, okay, this is what this is for like working at Domino's. So for being a Domino's driver, of course I can use their vehicle. Some of it's like, okay, what is it? Need what is it? So stop, so not like brake on a stop at a dime, but like slow down and stop. Acceleration, I did not, like, you can't go above a certain speed limit. You can stay, like, let's say the speed limit is 30, it can go up to 30. Anything above 30 dings off points. And then let's say you're below 5 miles an hour, so it's anywhere between, like, let's say you're not supposed to go above 30, you can go about 25 up to 30. So they were like, we really want you to like drive safe and drive the speed limit. So there's that. Another one is 30. Another one is basically acceleration. Acceleration isn't like, for me, I always thought, okay, go ahead and press on the gas whenever you're leaving a place, or to quickly accelerate to get up to speed. In their case, they're like, no, we want you to go ahead and slowly drive up to the speed, basically. Where it's like, whenever you leave out a parking lot, don't just like whip out, which is what I sometimes do, but go ahead and accelerate slowly out of the parking lot, and then slowly accelerate up to speed. And it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, I learned that. That I didn't know. So what it is that last night I was looking at the score, because they actually have an up-to-date score, and they're like, your score so far, and it shows the one score, and then it shows after that your score for this recent run. Which I think is very, very useful, because sometimes like it lets me know what I need to do, and yeah, it lets me know what I need to do in order to become better driver, according to Domino's. So some of it also was like, you cannot go beyond 7 miles an hour. You can't, like, you have to slowly slow down. So in other words, you can go from like 14 to like 10 miles an hour as you're stopping, but you can't go from like 14 to 0 miles an hour when stopping. So yeah, I was like, that's very interesting and cool. So yeah. I think whenever I brake, I need to like brake and then slow down, or like let off the brake. I think that would be a lot better choice. Yeah, I think so. What else? So yeah, that was basically the sermon. I found that 11:30 for me is a lot better, because they do have a 10 a.m. service, but I think it's only about an hour long. And then the 11:30 service was like an hour and a half long. They finally finished up probably about 1:15 or so. Yeah. So it took me like 30 minutes to drive out there. Woohoo! And also I'm excited because they'll actually have a prayer conference Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm like, I want to go, but I can't. Or it might be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then I can go Tuesday, Thursday? Yeah, I can go Tuesday, Thursday. But I need to double check it on their website. And then also they're like, first time visitors, you get a thing. I'm like, cool. And it's a shirt. I was like, shoot, it's a t-shirt. It's another t-shirt. So yeah, what I did, because I have plenty of t-shirts already, was I decided I'm going to get a 3X, so that way I can go ahead and wear it as a night shirt. Because yeah, I'm like, I have enough t-shirts, and the shirts that I do have I don't always wear. So yeah, I was like, okay, night shirt it is. So now I have 3 night shirts. I don't have 2, I have 3. What I also like to do, so if it's just me, I'll have like just one, it's basically a 3X shirt. I'll just put that one shirt on, but if it's like me and someone else, I'll go ahead and put 2 shirts on. So that way it's a little bit thicker and it provides more padding, I guess. So yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Oh yeah, so also I hope that with your sibling everything's going well, especially with the power outages and such, because I know that's a little bit of an inconvenience. We're like, I want to do business, but I can't, and they're doing power outages, like planned power outages, and it's like, I imagine, because I don't know, I'm coming up with things, I imagine it's for the good of the community and such, so it's like, okay, that works. So yeah. What I think I'll do about my car, because my car has been making noises, or not noises, basically the check engine light is still on, and it's basically like the fuel thing, something about the fuel pump or something, is still off. So what I think I will do is basically contact like O'Reilly and Auto Parts, those places, because they generally know some of the good places to have your vehicle worked on. So I'm basically going to call them and be like, hey, can you go ahead and like work on my vehicle, and find out who can do it, because I still, reminds me of a friend of mine. Like, I went to visit her and she's like, yeah, basically I went ahead and like, what did I do? I went ahead, well, not me, but her. I went ahead and I've spent probably a couple $1,000s in order to get my vehicle repaired for an oil leak. And she's putting in like 5 gallons or so of oil into her vehicle every, like, let's say like once a week or something. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. You need another mechanic. I told her that. She kept going to the same mechanic and they kept doing the same exact thing. So what I told her was like, we need to find someone else. So I went ahead and we went over to, I think, O'Reilly or AutoZone, Auto Parts, basically. And we went over there and we asked them, hey, who do you recommend for like fixing this oil leak on the vehicle? Because basically it's not working, it's not changing, or like basically they're doing this, so what do we do? And so they're like, yeah, that place, they used to be decent, and now they're just like, oh, we'll do the same thing, we'll go ahead and do, like, we won't actually repair the vehicle, but we'll go ahead and do stuff that seems like we're repairing it, and then we'll go ahead and like basically take money from them. And so they're like, yeah, go ahead and go to this other person in order to have your vehicle repaired. So she ended up going to that other person thanks to their advice, and it fixed the problem on the vehicle. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Good job. So yeah, I may end up doing that. I will be doing that, because what happens sometimes is that, now this is whenever I first start the vehicle, is that I'll get into my vehicle, and then, let's see, I'll get into my vehicle, and then what will end up happening is that my vehicle, I'll start it up, I'll get to like the stop sign, and the vehicle will basically shut down. I'll press on the gas, press on the brake, does not work, and it shuts down. And I'm like, what in the world? And then from there, I'm like, okay, what do I do? I end up having to put my vehicle in park, shut off the vehicle, and then start it back up. And then whenever I start it back up, it works. Well, this morning I went ahead and I like left breakfast basically, or brunch. And I basically was pulling out of the parking lot that was by the cafeteria, and I had my wheel turned, and then suddenly my vehicle just shut down. And so what I ended up having to do, like, it sort of shut down, kind of. I put my vehicle in park, turned it off, and then like my steering column basically froze up. I went ahead and started up the vehicle again, and then turned it, and then started up the vehicle, took it off park, and then the vehicle worked. This pretty much happens like every time lately. This pretty much has happened over the past like couple of weeks, where I start up my vehicle, press on the gas, and it stops. And I'm just like, no, this sucks. So yeah. Land for sale, 303 acres. That is a lot of land. So, yeah. Anyways, I will talk to you later. I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do about my roommate, because she apparently doesn't believe in right and wrong, and she doesn't believe in corporal punishment. Well, take that back. I don't think she believes in like in my case, I believe that if a person commits murder, go ahead and like they should totally be killed. Now, if it's an accident, that's something else. Like if it's like, sometimes that does happen, but if it's like, okay, I'm intentionally killing this person just because I don't like them, I'm like, yeah, come on, like, no. But anyways, I will talk to you later. And honestly, the message today kind of, I guess, renewed hope in me, that, you know what, like sometimes I have hopes and dreams and such, and it's like, okay, are they going to come true? But it's like, you know what, I need to cling to what, like, cling to God, not necessarily, and cling to like what he says instead of being like, oh, no, or something. I don't know. Be like it's never going to happen and just be discouraged over the past like decade. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to cling to God, basically. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll talk to you later. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Let me know if there's anything else you want to talk about, and I should be able... Cool here. I will be able to respond later. So, yeah, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Love you.